It's the kid, 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 it's the kid coming at you here for this the movie show. And I know that BBC I should normally be doing this every Wednesday, but life man, life gets in the way, so it's always difficult to try and keep these things. But I would try my best to either do it every Wednesday or to at least do it weekly. But to let you guys know, but obviously with football stuff going around in the other channel just makes things a bit more tricky. But we're here. We're gonna get a good shot. I've got my Ribena, I've got my chocolates, so should be a good show. So I think for these kinds of things, because I said again, I call myself a movie merchant, because I'm obsessed with films, I'm obsessed with movies. So the idea for these shows and this content is to teach you guys and to educate you guys about film and make sure that you guys are up on the latest things that are happening with film and you guys are just learning different things to do with film and stuff. So I'll be picking different topics each week just to sort of, um, expand on your filmic knowledge from the movie maestro, the kid, the HH, the boy, that dude, the one trying to make that thing, your boy HH. So, first thing I want us to rock with it is this whole thing of the Shawshank Redemption. Let me just pull this up in here. There you go, Shawshank Redemption, man. This is widely seen as the greatest film of all time. So when you look on IMDb, forget that crap called Darknet and all that nonsense. Forget that. This is, I think, whenever you look on IMDb, top 250 is between this and Godfather. But I would really argue that, you can't not like Shawshank Redemption. And for me, I believe that Shawshank Redemption has greater universal appeal than Godfather. I do. Maybe this is a discussion for another time. Maybe I may even do it here. I think Godfather is actually overrated. I think The Godfather is an overrated film because I can understand this being seen as one of the greatest films of all time, but not really The Godfather because Shawshank Redemption is a universal story that everyone can connect with. Not everyone can connect with the Italian mob. People say, okay, Godfather is about family and everything, but it's about a particular kind of family dynamic that not really everyone can connect with. Everyone connects with friendship. Shawshank Redemption is a basic story about friendship. And it's about friendship. It's about perseverance. Those are the two main things, which is why the tagline of it is that fear can hold you prisoner, hope can set you free. Just that tagline alone is something that everybody can buy into. What's my name? My name is Half Hope. So the whole thing of hope can set you free and always believing that you can reach that mountain, so always believing in success is going to be huge. So a little bit of trivia for you. So again, guys, spoiler alert. If you haven't, first of all, this is going to be weird if you haven't seen Shawshank Redemption because that's just wild. If you haven't watched Shawshank Redemption, stop, save this video because this video will come on through and go and watch Shawshank Redemption, please, because you have to watch the film. You can't not exist or live or breathe without watching the Shawshank Redemption. So, shout out to everybody in the live chat. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. What up? So, again, spoiler alert. If you're not seeing Shawshank Redemption, press stop right now and go watch it right now. So, spoiler alert. So, the original ending for Shawshank Redemption, you see, obviously, the ending we see in Shawshank Redemption is obviously where you see Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins. He obviously escapes and he gives a note to Morgan Freeman's character, Red, as to where to find him when he finally gets released off on parole after several interviews. And then they then meet in this kind of like beachside place and stuff, and it's kind of like a very emotional kind of meeting between them. And it's like, wow, the ending. But the director and writer, Frank Darabont, that was not his original ending. So his original ending was Dufresne, of course, ends up breaking out of prison. And Red's character, played by Morgan Freeman, he also leaves as well. But what happens is he gets on a bus and then he then says through the amazing voiceover by Morgan Freeman that, I hope to see my friend hopefully someday. And then you see the bus with Red on drive away, and then fade to black. So the audience never knows whether he actually ends up meeting up with Andy Dufresne. So it's just left up in the air. So when that was shown to test audiences, audiences were like, screw you. We've invested so much into these characters. They've been through so much. We've connected with them so much. Screw you, get a life, you complete utter prick. We need to see them get together because, yes, this is a male chick flick. Okay, this is the male version of what the Notebook or whatever. We need to see them get together, and I think the ending was then changed, and it's one of those things of where if they had gone with the original ending, as painful as that would have been, because you were like, my gosh, did they ever know? It would have actually been much more of an impactful ending than the ending that we got. The ending that we got is still good. Let's keep it real. The ending we got is still a superb ending because it just perfectly ties up everything. But put it this way, this is what Darabont said, or like the DVD special edition. He hates the Hollywood ending, and he hates where everything is all tied up like a nice little bow and everything. So he wanted just to leave it open-ended with regards to, you don't know what happened. Did they not meet? And because again, like if they'd gone with that ending, the original ending where you just see red on the bus and it fades to black, you're like, damn. So after everything they'd been through, the deaths they'd been through, how crap they got treated in prison, because again, you'll never know. So when you just end, you're like, you would want to think that they meet, but by not us being showing that, we're like, damn it. But it's one of those things of where I understand why Darabont would have fought for that ending, because originally he would be like, man, he would have been angry that they changed the ending because no, this is my film, this is my script, this is my screenplay, and how I envision this based on, because the way he even made the film, that this isn't a typical Hollywood kind of film. This isn't like a Spielberg kind of film. This isn't a Disney film. It's a real kind of film that I want to have real emotions. And sometimes in life, we don't have a happy ending in life. There are no happy endings, And he wanted just to create a scenario where rather than say, oh, he never meets him or he kills himself, you just never know. So we should now sit back and be like, we're not given a concrete ending. We're giving something open-ended, and we just now have to decide for ourselves whatever happened. So he, as an artist, to be forced to be like, no, the ending must be this, and that, it takes away the artist's integrity, which is why he would have, I understand why initially would have been pissed off. But if you ask Darabont right now, he'd be like, yeah, put it this way. Let me say this to you right now. If they had gone with the original ending, the film wouldn't have the same kind of everlasting impact as it has right now. Which is just the thing. The reason why the film is such an endearing film, such an amazing film, and a film that emotionally affects you in such a way is because of that ending. It's like the perfect one. Like if you're feeling down, you're not feeling good, you can just watch Shawshank Redemption, and when you see that ending, you feel good. You feel good because it's like they went up, they went down, they went in, they went down, they this and that. So people, and then at the end of the day, despite all that crap, things happen, and it's like, so for Darabont right now, he can be like, you know what? Let me put my artist's integrity to one side and just be like, you know what? I am doing this for the greater good, which is I have created something that has stood the test of time, because Shawshank Redemption stands head and shoulders above the thousands upon thousands of films that have been made. Just think about it. Think of the thousands of films that have been made. But this movie right here is set apart because there's just, I told you, like, it's a male chick flick. It's a male chick flick. There is something special about that film. And I do think that it is, one key thing about it is obviously that ending. But you know what? I said to myself that, because I remember when I was watching it for the first time, and when you see the character of Red, going to the, because basically he's struggling with trying to be acclimatized to the outside world and so forth, and then you then see him going to like he's basically in the apartment that the old guy stayed in, and then for a second I thought he killed himself because he couldn't readjust. You see, now that's another crazy. Now, if they had gone with that ending, so Red ends up killing himself, I think I'd have just collapsed. I think I'd just collapsed. And in a sick way, see, that would have made a stronger impact. But again, the film wouldn't be as well received. And it's just one of those things, because films with depressing endings, open-ending endings, just don't last with us, because for us as human beings and a human society, these films are a means of escape. They're a means of escape, and they're a means of playing like, you know what? Yeah, man, this is something for us to really go away with. So it's hard to say which was the right decision. Was it better to go with the artist's decision of like, no, I want it to be open-ended because that is the script I wrote, that's the story I wrote, and as an artist, I want to have my own ending. You producers, this is not your film. So, and I think that if it gone with that ending, it would have still been an amazing film. It still would have been an amazing film. But I think that the ending that we got is what makes it a timeless classic and a film that people will revisit. Like this, I don't think people would revisit or rewatch or have such a love affair with the film if it had gone with the original ending. Because guys were like, "Oh, this is an amazing film," but okay. But the reason why we go back to it is because it's the perfect story. It's the perfect story based on where we see Andy Dufresne begin and how he forms this amazing organic friendship with Red, and the kinds of things that they go through, where they go through some crap, they get treated like crap, messed up stuff happens to them, and they have to do messed up stuff, and then how it all ends is like, that's kind of good ending. It ends. Like, the worst thing is if you have that kind of ending where they meet, it don't feel like if they really end that ending. But it was truly ends in the way that they fully put that thing across, man. So that was the thing there, man. So goes like, remember, guys, hit that sub button, guys, hit that sub button, subscribe to the half ups, hit the like button and subscribe. Let me just see what guys are saying, man. So it says, I always thought Red just fell asleep and that was his dream. Are you in referencing to the original ending, or the new, or the ending that we got? Which one? I really liked Uncut. That film, what? Maybe we should discuss that film again. Like, I wasn't a fan of the film, but it was very well filmed. But yeah, again, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, so most don't spoil it for anyone. That ending was shocking. I didn't see that coming. Like, when that Uncut Gems ending happened, I was like, wait, what? Because it's like, you're like, what the heck? So yeah, that one is definitely wild, man. That one is definitely wild. But like, again, Adam Sandler, I've never been the biggest fan of Adam Sandler. I'll keep it real with you. I've never been that dude's biggest fan, man. But it was an interesting film. It was an interesting film. Needs no. It doesn't. But I know that you're actually doing that as like, boy, but no, it doesn't need a female thing whatsoever, man. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can go into it in this stream about the Godfather, because see, whenever you say something is overrated, doesn't mean that it's crap. Doesn't. But the Godfather is overrated. It is not as good as what people put out to be. It is an amazing film. One of the best made films ever in terms of technically, and it has, in my opinion, the greatest performance ever in a film, which is Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone. But you can't call that the greatest film of all time. And tell this though, Godfather 2 is a better film than Godfather 1. Godfather 1 just has superb acting, but as a film in terms of filmmaking, see, Godfather 2 now, that is a masterpiece of filmmaking, Godfather 2. So, for our next one in here, I want to talk about The Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. So, this is a debate that many people have. What is the best Lord of the Rings film? What is the best Lord of the Rings film? So let me just even go through my whole Lord of the Rings thing. It's like I remember because I watched all through the films with my family, so my sister, my brothers. I remember seeing a clip of it, and I remember just seeing like an advert for the Lord of the Rings. I was like, "What's this trash? This was gonna be like Dungeons and Dragons and some crap." Yet again, I was like, "Nah, man." So I wasn't expecting much. So as you sat down and you saw the intro, I was like, when I knew that, bro, things have gotten real, right? I think things just got real. When I knew that things got real was what should we call it? When you see Sauron. When you see Sauron for the first time, I was like, okay. I was like, hold up. Hold up, whoa. We're getting something different. And you see, I believe the best cinematic. Look, I told you, I'm a movie merchant, man. I'm a movie merchant. So for me, I've watched loads of films, and I try and watch films in the cinemas first because I'm a cinephile, man. You can't. There is not a better cinematic experience than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Can't do it. Now we'll talk about the films and the quality of the films as themselves, because the films don't really hit the same when you're at home as was when you are in the cinema. Though the cinematic experiences of the three Lord of the Rings films, see, for me, look, I watched Reloaded 6.5 times in the cinema, but that's different because I'm a bit psycho. But that's Reloaded. The Lord of the Rings, those films, because they were made for the big screen. They were made for the cinema because of the scale of the films and just how they were filmed, like the scenes and all that kind of stuff. It is made to be seen on the biggest screen possible. So you watching it at home doesn't do it justice, because when you see Mordor, when you see Isengard, when you see all these kinds of places and so forth, it's widescreen, it's vast, it's larger than life, it's gargantuan. So in the cinema, with the sound, the screen, and so forth, it is the prime formats for how to view it. So for me, in the cinematic experiences of those films were absolutely incredible. So now when I'm not trying to break down what was the best Lord of the Rings film, we have to look out which film told the best story. So forth. And this is how I view it. Because if I was to rank them, I would rank it in terms of least to best. Yeah, backwards. Yeah. Return of the King, Two Towers, Fellowship. Fellowship of the Ring is the best film of the three, and I'll tell you why. So let's first start with Return of the King. You see, when you're doing a trilogy, the hardest one to be the best is the second one, because it's the middle. Like the first one is the film to introduce things. The third film should actually be the easiest. The third film is the easiest to be the best because that's the ending. That's when you really wrap it all up. That's when you're just really tying everything together, but you have the ending with you. So which is why it is amazing that The Empire Strikes Back was the best of that three. So, because it's funny, because you look at a lot of the films, Empire Strikes Back, Rambo 2, Back to the Future 2, a lot of the second parts of films are the best films. Batman Begins is the best of that trilogy, but that's for a separate thing. And many people would say Winter Soldier is the best of the three. Many people will say that. Return of the King was a spectacle. But that's the thing, it was a spectacle. I can't call Return of the King a great film, a well told story. It was just like, wow, look at all these huge, massive things, crazy, crazy things happening. Also, to this day, I told you the minute I left the cinema, to this day, Aragorn should have fought Sauron. How do you have that? Okay, let me just a mini rant, just a little mini rant. How do you have that sword? How do you have that armor, that shield given to you by Agent Smith? How does Agent Smith give you that sword, and you don't fight Sauron? Because Sauron was my boy. When I first saw Sauron, I said, no, this guy, because Sauron for me is the best villain of all time. Sauron is the best movie villain of all time. I don't give a damn about Vader. I don't give a damn about what's it called, about the Emperor. Sauron is that dude. Because I'll be real with you. When they brought us the title Return of the King, I thought Return of the King meant Return of Sauron. I just said, when I just saw Return, Sauron is back. So my mind was thinking that Sauron literally lubricated you dudes in Fellowship. And it took like a whole army to pretty much break him down. So he's going to come back pissed off. Because remember, he was in Fellowship 2000, looking at the guys. So if this dude returns, it's gonna be hell to beat him. So I was like, man, this final battle is gonna be the most amazing epic final battle of all time. But they never fought it. Lo and behold, and I refused to watch this because I was told, my brother told me that he watched the special edition and Peter Jackson filmed the fight. So they actually filmed the fight with Aragorn against Sauron, but he decided not to use it because he thought that, oh, no, it's not about this. I'm like, screw you. How does the hero with a sword, I don't give a damn about Frodo. I don't give a damn about Frodo. How does the hero with a sword not fight the final dude? It's like Link never fights Ganon. It's like, what? It's like Luke never fights the Emperor or Vader. It's like, no, what? The guy with the sword fights the flipping villain. That's how it works. That's how it should always work. So that for me, I just thought was just right. But look, Return of the King for me felt like a spectacle. And I can't, all because I see big scenes and huge battle scenes and this and the scale of Return of the King was amazing. It's like the most epic film ever. I can't call that the best film. Two Towers was good. But for me, again, with Two Towers, I didn't feel the narrative was strong. The star of Two Towers was Gollum. Because remember, we got our dear friend, that dude from Star Wars, the digital dude. Jar Jar Binks. No, Misa Jar Jar. We got Jar Jar Binks, who was the first ever digitally created character, but it didn't really work out. Gollum, even because I watched Two Towers recently, even when you're watching Gollum now, seeing Gollum for the first time, it was like, what the heck is this? In terms of just how good it is, the animation, the acting as well. Because I mean, Andy Serkis's performance, you're like, what the heck? This is incredible. But for me, Two Towers, really, the real bright spots of Two Towers that you leave with was Gollum and Mordor. No, sorry. It's not Mordor. Basically, the battle. What's the name of the the battle that they have in Two Towers? Where do they fight? It's not Mordor. It's someone in the live chat. Tell me where they fight in Two Towers. Where do they fight? So basically, that battle was crazy. Helm's Deep. Yes, the Battle of Helm's Deep. Yeah. I remember. So Helm's Deep and Gollum, that's the best thing, but I can't call it the best film. Fellowship. That is a damn good film. Because even if it doesn't have a distinct ending, it still feels like a complete narrative. And for me, Fellowship just felt, because when you just look at the opening, was popped off. The opening, although the opening for Two Towers was crazy when Gandalf fights that flipping battle. That was crazy. But the opening with Sauron, the opening to the story, your boy Sauron telling the story, the journey of the ring from Smeagol to obviously our Hobbit friend, and how they now go onto the journey with Bilbo Baggins, Frodo, all those dudes. Oh, sorry, with Frodo and Samwise. Also, and I think the key thing about Fellowship, which the films didn't have, was the character of Sean Bean and the acting of Sean Bean and just how good Sean Bean was in that role. So for me, putting all those things together, Gandalf as well, Ian McKellen's superb, amazing performance in that. Fellowship as a film, for me, felt the best. And I just think that, especially the impact of that, because obviously people say it has an impact because it was the first one. But I just felt that from beginning to end, the story, because for me, the key thing about a great film is the story. How good is the story from the very first frame to the very final frame? I think there was more of a consistent quality in what you got from Fellowship than in Two Towers and Return of the King, which is why I just thought, Fellowship for me, that was the film. That was the film. And which is why, look, it's still an amazing trilogy. I still see that the best trilogy of all time is still Star Wars. Star Wars is still the best trilogy in terms of the beginning, middle, and end. But what was presented in Fellowship, expanded upon in Two Towers, we didn't really get the proper full support in Return of the King, because when you look at Fellowship of the Ring and you see how Sauron is presented as this is the clear villain, presented beautifully well. You can't give me a better intro than Sauron. How do you create 9 rings and some dude in hell or in a flipping volcano says, "Oh, you spent all this time creating 9 rings. I'm just going to create one ring to basically rule all of your bum-ass crappy brick rings." That's amazing. Like, that is the best introduction to a villain of all time. So, Fellowship just did such great groundwork. It set such an amazing foundation that I didn't think that Return of the King fully delivered on the foundation, because the key is you've got to fight Sauron. I need a 1v1 fight. I know he's flipping 3,000 feet tall, but we need to fight him. You need to fight the flipping dude. The hero has to fight that dude. And which is why, see, this is the thing. Because what made the story interesting was you had 2 protagonists, which was Frodo and Aragorn, and you had the Frodo journey and the Aragorn journey, which were both very different because they were both heroes, but heroes in a very different sense. See, Aragorn is the classic hero. Frodo is the unlikely hero. And I think, which is why what's made their journeys both very interesting. But I still felt that Frodo can still have his journey. So can Aragorn. What did Aragorn do? Because Aragorn, he basically, first of all, he used a cheat code in Return of the King when you hired those, the army of the undead to help you in that battle. That's a flipping cheat code. Also, we could also talk about Lord of the Rings and how it has all these kind of racial undertones of protecting the West against foreign invaders. But we'll save that for another stream. But yeah, for me, Fellowship of the Ring, that was the best out of the 3 in terms of telling the best story. As of all, Two Towers was good, very good, wasn't as strong narratively from beginning to end as Fellowship was. Return of the King was mainly spectacle. As a film, and also mini spectacle, that film was ending for 20 minutes. So it had about 5-6 endings. So it was really spectacle over narrative substance, which is what I had here, man. So guys, remember to subscribe, hit that sub button, guys. Hit that sub button, guys. Remember to subscribe to that Half Up Thought Man. Remember to subscribe to that Half Up Thought Man. So let's take a few of those cues. Let's take a few of those cues. The fight in the woods in Fellowship was fantastic. I can't remember. Was that when oh, look at that. Wait. Was that when Sean Bean's character turns? Because I'm not seeing Fellowship in a long time. Because I watched Return of the King recently and Two Towers because they were on streaming. I haven't seen the other film in a while, man. No, Norman Bates is a different kind of villain. See, so that's Norman Bates is like Nurse Ratchet in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Those are much more real, relatable villains. But I'm talking about villain. Like this is just like the classic villain. So Sauron is in the same realm as Darth Vader, in the same realm as the Emperor, and so forth. And for me, there is no greater villain than Sauron. Like that intro to Sauron was madness. No, I had nightmares of Sauron. No, Gollum for me was just sick. Gollum for me was just sick. Like he was just a very sick, twisted individual. Man, he was just a very sick, twisted individual. Because I was just like, what is this thing? And just how scheming he was, how treacherous he was. I was like, man. So for me, that guy was what just that what they achieved, what I achieved, man. Was next level, man. Should Star Wars have ended with 3 movies? Yes. Based on the trash that came afterwards, yes. And what I keep telling people is when the dust is settled and all is said and done, Star Wars will always be known for those three films. It is, whether you like it or not, it is still the best trilogy. In terms of telling a beginning, middle, and end, that is still the best story. So I wanted to cop another one in, man. So this was not really part of the thingy, man, but I wanted, because I watched this last night with your boy Dangerous Ortega. So obviously, guys, if you're a member, a Hopes Hot member, you get the chance of watching a whole bunch of movies during the week with your boy. So, I see, this is the thing that's pissing me off, man. I hate when all right, here we go. This should work. Let me hit this right now. Wait, what the heck? All right, guys, bear with me, man. Let me just, I'm trying to get this photo up and running for you. But this bad boy just wants to be fully annoyed. You're kidding me. Why are all these photos small? What the heck? I'm trying to load up a photo, but literally all these photos. There we go. This fucking piece of shit. Finally, man. All right. There we go. Finally. So, guys, I had the privilege of watching Blade again. And I have to rethink rankings of superhero films. Because I watched Blade last night. Again, that was the Hopes Hot members film that I watched last night. And I have to change my view towards Blade and how it ranks amongst the best superhero movies. Because I've got to rank this higher. Because, let's be real, most superhero films aren't great. In terms of film, story, acting, pacing, narrative structure, vibe, aesthetic, aura. Most of these films are just like conveyor belts. Blade sets itself apart from most superhero films. And the key thing for Blade is this. It was when it was made. If Blade, like the very first Blade film came out in 2009 or 2005, specifically after Spider-Man, it would be very different. Because I believe that the 90s was the best decade for film. Easily the best decade for film. Because when you look at the kinds of films that were being released in the 90s, the way that they were being released and so forth, and just the kinds of films that came out in the 90s, there was a very specific cutting edge to 90s films and movies. I mean, this is the decade of Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, Quiz Show, Seven, 8mm T2. Um, Look, what was just some really good quality films. Matrix, American Beauty. So for me, when you just because okay, Blade. I mean, there are a few parts of Blade that I just wish. Okay, well, why did you do that? But for the most part, this is a it is a damn good film. And when you're watching it, this is the key thing. When you're watching it, it doesn't try to tell that, hey guys, this is a comic book movie, because there aren't even really many comic book movie cliches in this. And the key thing was this came before Spider-Man. I think that Spider-Man movie in '02 with Raimi created the comic book movie aesthetic and created the comic book movie cliche that many other people and companies and filmmakers copied. But back in '98, remember, this was before the first X-Men film. So really, especially for Marvel, this was like really the first Marvel film. And definitely the really good first good proper Marvel film. Because remember, DC had Superman in '78. Yeah, Superman in '78 and Batman in '89. But the way that Stephen Norrington, who was the director, the way that he directed this, he directed this like, I'm making a film. I'm making a film. More specifically, I'm making a vampire film. So I think Norrington and Snipes focused more on while trying to make a good quality vampire film than making a comic book movie. Because really, remember, this was before MCU, before X-Men, before Spider-Man. So even when you look at Superman 1, look at Batman, they feel like films, not comic book films. They feel like films because there was the comic book movie aesthetic hadn't existed yet. And then you saw some pretty crappy comic book films in the '90s, like The Phantom and all that nonsense. But just think of what they did in this was that I think this was more so like, we want to tell a really good vampire film. So it has a very gothic aesthetic about it, and it's very moody. But when you're just watching it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, yes, there are one-liners, but the one-liners aren't the same kind of one-liners that gets in a lot of things comic book movie trash that you see. So, and what Snipes just does for the character, because you have to remember that Snipes created this character of how he moves, how he walks, how he talks, and he's doing the moves, you know? So it's like Snipes, people need to put some respect on Snipes' name, because remember, like a lot of younger guys now were like, oh, who's this? Who's the Snipes guy? Back in the 90s, remember, Snipes was in Passenger Fair 57. I think it's Murder at 1800. Jungle Fever. He was in a lot of films, and Snipes was a movie star. And in the 90s, he was one of the biggest movie stars in the 90s. You know, so, there's this, because this, and also Out of War as well, which came out before the Matrix. And what just made Snipes special was that decent actor, versatile actor who could do comedy, he could do action, he could do drama, so he was very versatile. So you couldn't put him in a box, but he also knew martial arts. Like, he is a martial artist, an accomplished martial artist. So him being able to do the moves, execute the moves without having a stunt double and do the acting makes him unique, which is why I say this is the best on-screen comic book character that there's ever been. You know, in terms of the whole package of the acting, the moves, the stunts, and so forth. It's what Snipes did for Blade. Hence why got all the love in the world for Mahershala Ali, who is an amazing actor, superb actor. You can't Blade. He completely and totally finished the character of Blade to the point of where Blade is Snipes. Blade is Snipes. Like, it is what it is, you know. And if you're going to do a Blade, you have to do something completely, totally different. Totally different. So I didn't even know how it's even going to work. But just the film, though, is that I just wish that more comic book films took this approach. Because as much as I love the MCU does become formulaic. And there was definitely a formula, because it worked. Same thing with you see with Pixar. Hey, if this formula works, keep doing it. So insert joke here, insert one-liner here, insert this gag here, boom, 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 insert. I was like, oh, So it's like, yes, this is yet another MCU schlock. But with Blade, it's like, no, this is just a film. Great relationship that he has with Whistler. Superb villain, played by Stephen Dorff and Frost. But just the way the film is made. Like, there are jokes, but not jokes like, okay, we're now telling it. They're not gags, which is why you just know that when you see the Blade MCU, there will be gags, of course, because you have to have gags because that is the what we've now come to expect from the MCU movie. But look, Blade for me, I have to put this has to go easy top 5 comic book films ever made. Has to go top 5 because obviously off the top of my head, you have to look at Batman 89. Have to look at that. You've got to look at Superman 1. I always say Sin City. You have to say Sin City. Then I'm going to put in Blade. So I'm going to put Blade 4. And then for 5, probably one of the Captain America films. So take your pick, whether it's Captain America 1 or Winter Soldier, one of the Captain America films. And that's the 5 thing. And then after it begins. But this is easily top 5 comic book films ever made. And I think that for me was fully 100% confirmed when I just watched it again last night. Because when you watch it, because I had not watched it for a while, when you watch it again, you're like, no. This is a damn good film. This is a damn good film. Again, it was annoying how they made the guys blow up and everything and look like Mr. Blobby and all that kind of stuff. Because this was just back during like PS1, PlayStation graphics and all that kind of stuff. But despite that, for the most part, the film just it's dark. It's serious. That's the key thing. It's serious. And it takes the material seriously. But also, they were trying to make a film, not a comic book movie. So, no, we're trying to make a film here. So there has to be a good, strong story. And we're going to now maintain this. That's the key thing. Maintain the seriousness of the material. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to maintain 100% the seriousness of the material and really go forth with that. So for me, man, and I don't know why they can't have Snipes as Blade again. Because of course, see, I think it's a similar thing with Christopher Reeve and Superman. Christopher Reeve, he did such an amazing job as Superman that nobody can follow him now. I feel that they should have gone with Jim Caviezel, but look at Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is no, it doesn't work. And I just think it's the same thing with Snipes, is that he so created such a part, because it's not even in the sense of that he did an amazing acting job. Is that he just created such a unique feeling about the character, and he executed and presented the character so well that it's like, no, this is it. This is the complete package. Because we know that for Mahershala Ali, you can't fight as well as Snipes. You can't move as well as Snipes. And there's times where you're going to have a stunt double, but which is what made something like The Matrix so refreshing, because in The Matrix is like Lawrence Fishburne is doing the acting and he's doing the fighting, and it's a wide shot, so they're not caught. So no, that's really Lawrence Fishburne, that's really Carrie-Anne Moss, that's really Keanu Reeves doing the flipping action, and the guys who are acting. So it's really adds the authenticity of the material. It's really is Snipes that is doing all of this stuff. Like, you can really see him do this stuff. But for me, no, Blade is I say serious movie, man. It's a serious movie that I just think that deserves a lot more love than it's been given. Deserves a lot more love than it's been given. So I'll do questions, man. So guys, send in your cues, man. I'll send in your cues. I'll do last few 15 minutes of questions from you guys, man. So send in any cues you want. Send any cues you want, man. 70s is greatest decade for movies. A Clockwork Orange, Godfather 1 and 2, French Connection, Jaws, Taxi Driver, Star Wars, Cookies and Ice. See, I used to think it was the 70s. I used to think that the 70s was the greatest ever era for movies. But then I thought about the 90s. See, the difference between 70s and 90s was as great as the 70s are, and the 70s have some of the most amazing films. 90s was where I think you took more risks, because I think the society reflects the films being made. And I think in the 90s, you had much more integration of different cultures, and society, with regards to the music and stuff that was happening, helped bleed into it. So you give me, of course, Clockwork Orange, Godfather 1, Godfather 2. I can throw in Serpico. I can throw in The Conversation. I can throw in The Exorcist and so forth. But then we're looking at T2, looking at Pulp Fiction, Seven, Usual Suspects, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, American Beauty, The Matrix. 99 alone, let's just look at 1999. In 1999, you had Fight Club, Office Space, American Beauty, The Insider. I mean, that's just in 1 year. Just in 1 year. So for me, 90s for me just had so many amazing films. And the key thing with the 90s is that people really experimented. They really experimented with film in the 90s, and I just think that they really helped to really push it further, man. So, because again, look at the 90s. Look at the 90s and the kind of films that you in the 90s, and then you'll basically see LA Confidential with the 90s as well. All right. So, from what, thank you. Hope member more, what up, baby, what up, baby. Did you talk about the VFX in Lord of the Rings? Were they revolutionary? Because at the time, my mind was blown 1000%. And that is why Weta, the New Zealand house, pretty much became the golden standard. Because see, before then, LucasArts did all of the technology before them. Because, that was the guys that did Star Wars, and obviously did Phantom Menace and everything. But at the time, guys were like, the special effects were mind-blowing. Just even when, the battle with Gollum and the flipping Balrog, Sauron. That's why I compared the two. Because the first ever digitally created character that interacted with human beings was Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars The Phantom Menace. So that was a big thing because, it's the first time we've seen it. But Gollum took it to the next level, because for Gollum, they did it well and they did it properly, because the animation felt a lot more lifelike. And what Andy Serkis was doing and the motion capture they had with Andy Serkis and the Gollum was thick. So, of course, the special effects were amazing, but Gollum specifically was groundbreaking. Groundbreaking. And the thing is that when you look back at Jar Jar Binks, you can be like, go watch Two Towers or Return of the King now. Gollum still looks amazing. Of course, you can now, at the time, it was like, watching that in 2002, you're like, what the bloody heck is this? It was mind-blowing. So because of how things have advanced, when you see now, you can now see how it may be a bit fake. But I remember being in the cinema, how I felt seeing Gollum for the first time. It was like, me and my brothers were like, what the heck is this? This is out of this world, man. Who's the most all-round actor in your opinion? I've always said this, and I'll say it again. Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is the best actor of all time. Now, greatest, people will say Jack Nicholson, they'll say Marlon Brando, but the best in terms of all-round, I could do everything, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman can go, try, and if you can, just do a deep dive into Gary Oldman's filmography. Watch Gary Oldman in Fifth Element, Batman Begins, True Romance, JFK, Air Force One, throw in Dracula, and then throw in Leon the Professional. You watch these films, you will not believe that it's the same man in all of these films. His accent is totally different. His face is totally different. The way he moves is totally different. Because I remember, shout out to the late John Hurt. Because I just managed to meet him when I was going around, John Hurt, the actor. And we just were talking, and then I just talked to him about how, man, Gary Oldman is amazing, blah, blah. And John Hurt said that His face is like plasticine. He just knows how to just completely manipulate and just change how his face looks, man. So for me, all around, man, like Gary Oldman, man, like I've held it to be like there's no one that is touching Gary Oldman. Like he is far and away the best actor that has ever lived. Like the kinds of things that he can do is just nah. Um, Daniel Day Lewis has not played as many diverse roles as Gary Oldman. He simply hasn't. He simply hasn't. Gary Oldman has just done more diverse roles and more varied roles than Daniel Day Lewis. Daniel Day Lewis is amazing, but how vast is his filmography? His filmography isn't that vast. So I have to wait Gary Oldman because Gary Oldman has look the breadth of stuff he's done from comedy. What's it called? Oh, what's his name? Film with the dude from Friends and with William Hurt. This space, it's Deep Space Nine or something. He was hilarious in that. So that was where he played like a comedy character. So he's done everything. So he's shown and done everything. So for me, I put him above anybody. Everybody. He is the best actor of all time. There is no one close. It is Gary Oldman. He's the best actor of all time. So I watched Saving Private Ryan yesterday, and I'm convinced it is the most gruesome movie ever made. This was in 1990s before computer effects too. Also, quick thing about Saving Private Ryan, which I believe is true. I think that's Saving Private Ryan was the first major film to use the handheld technique. Because before then, everything was proper film and everything. So it was the first major film. So maybe a small film did it, but the first major film release that used handheld. And that intro on the beach is one of the maddest intros ever. Like, just that alone, you're like, because when you see that, you're like, who the heck will want to go to war? Who the hell will want to go to war? And that's just the thing about what I say, like, Spielberg is the greatest director of all time because Spielberg knows he understands genre. So he knows, okay, sci-fi, boom, this is what needs to do for sci-fi. Adventure is what needs to do for adventure. Drama is what needs to do for drama. But for me, the best adventure film of all time is Indiana Jones. In terms of the feeling of adventure, one of the most best hard-hitting dramas is your boy Schindler's List, bro. Best sci-fi for me. Minority Report and AI. You would have talked about those things as the best sci-fi films ever. Minority Report and thingy. And when looking at the best war films, people talk about Full Metal Jacket, talk about Apocalypse Now, Saving Private Ryan. Because the thing about Saving Private Ryan is there is no scene in any war movie that scares the crap out of you the way that beach scene does in Saving Private Ryan. Because just remember that scene when the moment that they land on the beach and the thing goes down, and you just see, you're like, it's like, imagine if you were on the front end of that boat, like the way they just did the gunfire. I'm like, this is hell. Because remember, the Allies just had regular thingy guns, and the Germans had machine guns, which was obviously like advanced technology back in those days. So you're like, and remember there was a scene where you had Tom Hanks and he had to hold up the mirror to see where the guys were shooting from. So just the logistics of like, you're seeing dismembered bones, guys getting cut up in the most gruesome way possible, because Spielberg was like, no, we're going to show this for real, because Spielberg was like, no, I have a duty to the veterans to show it how it really was. And veterans even said that, nah, shit is real. This is real. So, man, crazy. And even I remember that scene with Tom Sizemore, where like Tom Sizemore and that German guy pretty much like have like this thing where they're rushing to get their gun and so forth, and even just that crew, because it was Tom Sizemore, Tom Hanks, Barry Pepper, who was the sniper, and then obviously they go and meet Matt Damon and so forth, but Vin Diesel. that was actually one of Vin Diesel's earliest roles. So no. Saving Private Ryan is one of the greatest war movies ever made, man. For sure, man. Full Metal Jacket is better than any other war film, basically because it is more unique than all the rest and more precise in psychological execution as a standalone. Here's the thing, and this is what I've always said about Full Metal Jacket. If Kubrick made Full Metal Jacket the way that he made the first half of the film, you have an amazing film. Because for me, there are so many different aspects of how you approach war. Platoon, for instance. Okay, let's break it down. Platoon is about how the young mind, like the younger mind, gets broken down and is forced to mature through the horrors of war, which was what was presented by the Charlie Sheen character. And remember, Platoon, directed and written by Oliver Stone, who was a Vietnam War vet. Saving Private Ryan is about the direct horror of war in its actuality. So this is what it feels like to be on a flipping battlefield. Okay, this is just how bad it is. So this is what war feels like. There's no psychological crap. This is what it feels like to be in war, in the rawest way possible. Full Metal Jacket, the first half is the indoctrination of how you can psychologically be tuned into being this killing machine, from like a regular dude to this killing machine, which is what was done by, what do I forget this guy's name? Because he was also in Men in Black as well. I always forget the dude's name. But that character who got broken down, And Apocalypse Now is about how it can turn someone mad. Like I would say, Apocalypse Now is the greatest build up to a character ever. I think about Apocalypse Now is you're basically seeing a build up from the very beginning to the very end, and it's worth it because when you see what Marlon Brando does, he's acting in Apocalypse Now. That is the most insane kind of acting in such a short space of time that you've ever seen. So you can also say this is the greatest war film because all these different war films, all in an amazing way, depict certain specific things about war. So there are many different ways for you to break it down, man. Okay, so yeah, same man. Edge of Tomorrow is arguably better than Minority Report. I love Edge of Tomorrow. Two different films. See, Edge of Tomorrow, I think, is a mixture of sci-fi and like comedy. So it's a different vibe. Minority Report is hard sci-fi. So I would prefer a comparison of Minority Report and Blade Runner. Because Minority Report, this is hardcore sci-fi. Edge of Tomorrow is marrying sci-fi and comedy because there's a lot of comedy in it. In Edge of Tomorrow, this is what makes it cool because it's a very nice blend. And Tom Cruise knows how to sell that. But the story, because I think that is what makes sci-fi good, is what kind of moral story are you telling? What is the kind of morality of the tale? And I just think that's the kind of idea that the scientific fictional idea in Minority Report is crazy, which is that. So if you know people are going to commit a crime in the future and you can stop them, they can stop all crime. But then the discussion is, and the dilemma is, if I've not committed the crime, how can you put me into jail? All because you have a device that says that I'm going to commit that crime doesn't mean that I committed it. So how could you imprison me for committing a crime that I haven't yet committed? I haven't done it yet. No. Once you commit a crime, then you go to jail. But the whole idea is that we can actually create a peaceful society so that we can have no crime is committed because we can actually anticipate when people commit the crime. But then what if the machine lies? Because a machine can say, no, this guy's going to murder his entire family. And I'm going to go to jail for life for something a machine believes I'm going to do, but I never did it. So it's a great scientific question, man. It's a great scientific question, man. let's see. Will cinemas ever recover from COVID, or will streaming take over? Bro, this is the big question, because cinemas have been hit hard, and COVID doesn't look like if it's going anywhere, man. See, the thing is this, man. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough because the cinemas have suffered so much. We're still no closer into understanding or having a cure or a vaccine for COVID that it's going to be hard. And which is why, because even now, whenever I look on Amazon Prime or on Netflix, the amount of films that these guys are putting on the stuff, especially on Prime, because Amazon now knows that, wow, this is the perfect time to take advantage of streaming. So let's just increase our catalog. And more studios are saying that, bro, let's try and say what's up. Which is why you've seen Dune shifted to a year. Batman is now March 2022. Because these guys are like, now, we have to have our films in the cinema and we're going to have to wait. And it looks like if it's going to take a year. Cinemas will always be around. It's just that they will have to reinvent themselves. Because I just believe that what is going to happen is cinemas will just have to change the way that they are presented. So look at pubs, look at restaurants, look at clubs. You know, they've had to change the whole thing. So maybe if it's a case of where you reduce the capacity, or you just change where you naturally now have booths. So instead of things, you basically totally rebuild cinemas to actually have booths that are completely isolated from one another. And then that's how you have to go. So you have your own separate booth, glass, and so forth. And that's how you view. So you just have to get imaginative and everything, because as people have said, we have to live with this crap. We're going to have to learn to live with this whole COVID crap. So that's my thing. But cinemas will come back, but in a very different setting. And I just think that you've seen so many people have to make adjustments. But what you're definitely going to see is streaming, and the world of streaming and the platform of streaming is going to accelerate. It's going to accelerate, man. So, all right. Let's just see. What makes Gary Oldman's acting different from Brando if you compare the two? I think so. For someone like Brando really knows how to dig very, very deep emotionally to a character. So whether you want to call it method acting or anything, like, and I think here's the thing. Marlon Brando, the man, is interesting. So here, Brando, the man, is interesting. So I think he uses a lot of himself and his experience to add a lot of depth and authenticity to his performances. Like when you just look at what he does in Apocalypse Now, and just how deep he goes emotionally, that has to do with just who Marlon Brando is as a man. But what makes Gary Oldman special is that Gary Oldman, if you meet Gary Oldman, he's just like a regular dude from the East End, from West Ham. I don't know whether whenever you guys were in England, he's just a regular dude from West Ham. So Gary Oldman has to do a lot more. To sort of convince you of the characters that he portrays, because he's so distant from those characters, you know. So I feel that Marlon Brando, the man, is more interesting. There's more to him than a Gary Oldman, who is just a regular dude. So it is actually, which is why it is so much more impressive seeing what Gary Oldman does, because he really has to completely take a leap into something that is completely distant from what he is in real life. So which is why Gary Oldman can be much more diverse and varied, because he just, Karoba just knows how to disappear in so many different kinds of roles. But for Marlon Brando, he can take a role and just completely just do something spectacular with it in how deep he goes into the whole psyche of the character, man. Oh no, see, that's what I say. No, Brando is you would say Brando is the greatest actor of all time, greatest actor of all time. So I'll always say that he's the greatest in terms of how he makes you feel in his performances is unlike any other actor in history. And it's really just three roles. So it's what's it called? On the Waterfront, Godfather, and Apocalypse Now. Just those three roles, those three performances. I don't think you can find any actor in history who have given much more powerful performances than those three that Marlon Brando gave, man. So that's the thing, man. He is that dude, man. He's that dude. So I think someone's asked a question about Pacino a bit back, about young Pacino and old Pacino. And look, and you can even probably put both of them in this as well. Like old Pacino and Sugar did this as well. Yeah, old Pacino and old De Niro are nowhere near as good as their young selves. Like young De Niro and young Pacino, these guys were like, De Niro gave you flipping Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, Goodfellas, King of Comedy, flipping amazing film. And Pacino gave you Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, Tony Montana. So that's the thing, man. That's the thing. So, it's two things, because old Pacino has given you quality stuff. Like, for instance, I don't know how many of you saw this film called, well, it's a limited TV series, which is Angels in America, that he did, and he was amazing in that. And that was with Jeffrey Wright, and Jeffrey Wright was also amazing in that as well. So there are times when older Pacino has given you great performances, but I think the issue you find is the material isn't there. Because the best material you will find right now are actually in TV, which is why, Angels in America, a TV thing, was why he did so, because the material was there. So the kind of material that was around in the 90s, 80s and 70s for film just aren't there in film right now, in this day and age, man. What makes people think that The Dark Knight is one of the greatest films of all time? It's fanboyism. I mean, it's a couple of first thing is fanboyism. So people who are hardcore fanboys of Batman, they see a film that, it's serious. You look at Heath Ledger's amazing performance, and the film presents itself as being this grand, serious thing, and they just get overexcited and say, no, this is the greatest film of all time. But it's like, which is why even when I was just, looking at the, doing like the whole overlay, the thumbnail for this, like when I typed in greatest films, they were putting Dark Knight next to Shawshank Redemption, 12 Angry Men, freaking Godfather. I was like, I'm Saving Private Ryan. Like, The Dark Knight is not in the same stratosphere as those films. Those are films of the highest level, like Lawrence of Arabia. Dark Knight is to that. So I just think it's a case of where, because so many comic book films aren't very serious, and The Dark Knight presented itself as being serious, people then took the unrealistic leap that, this must be the greatest film of all time, because people were just so overexcited and overhyped that we saw a superhero film that presented itself as being so serious and talking about serious themes. But when you're objective and you critique the film in an objective sense, of course it's better than a lot of comic book films. But compared to other films, no. It's not like compared to Heat, the film that it completely rips off. It's nowhere near as good. And as I said again, you can't be an amazing film when I can't hear what the main character is saying. Like there are times when Batman talks, I can't hear what the guy is saying. So I think it's just being overexcited. But what does no one ever talk about Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear? That movie was fantastic. De Niro's acting portrays one of the most evil characters ever put on screen. That was, for me, why don't people talk about King of Comedy? Which is what the Joker film was heavily based on. Because there are a few, and you always have those films that people that just go under the radar. Because see, Cape Fear was, because that's where De Niro played the southern villain and so forth, who was really creepy. Because he had tattoos, he had his long hair. And because I think that was a remake of a film. I believe it was a remake. And it also had Nick Nolte there as well before his voice went all crazy. No, but like that was a damn good film in terms of just presenting just this crazy psycho, sort of like this horror, creepy kind of movie. Yeah, but I don't think some films resonate with people en masse, other films don't, and I just think that that film didn't really resonate with people as much as, let's say, a Goodfellas or a so forth, man. And that's the thing. What is it? What is it? Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia, not that great. A lot of long shots with not. But you see, I think this is the thing about film. Unlike football, which I feel football is objective, with film it's subjective, and I just think that, for me, Lawrence of Arabia, for me, is one of the greatest films ever made, because Lawrence of Arabia is the very epitome of epic, of being epic, and just how much on a large scale, massive scale, it is, man. You've just got to say what's up to it, man. So let me just take a few cues and I'll be out of here. Thoughts on Goodfellas? Very good, but I don't think it's his best film. I feel that Taxi Driver is better. I feel Casino is better. An Irishman is better. Like, for me, Scorsese's best film is probably Taxi Driver. That is probably his best film. I think that was just when it's like, no, this is Scorsese to the very max. Because I think with Goodfellas, it's super well made, very well made. But I don't think that as a complete package is as good as Casino or Taxi Driver. And Mean Streets is underrated. His Mean Streets film, that's also very, very underrated as well. Like, look, I mean, Scorsese is like, look, the guy is quality, man. Like, he's definitely one of the more consistent directors out there. Even if I didn't even enjoy the film as most people did, what he did in Wolf of Wall Street was amazing. Just from a technical point of view because I think that film was about 3 hours, and just and how he was able to make a film so engaging and exciting for that long was amazing. And also, it's also produced one of the most used memes on Twitter as well, man. So, all right, let me end on this, man. Let me end on this. Hurricane or Raging Bull? What do you think is the best boxing film ever made, and why? Well, you didn't see the name. As cheesy as it is, it's Rocky. Rocky is the best boxing film, because I think it's not only an amazing boxing film, it's an amazing sports film, because Rocky just encapsulates the meaning of training and always believing in yourself, even if you're at a long shot. So especially with a lot of sports teams who are underdogs, like Greece in '04, and sort of even FC Porto as well in '04. Teams that feel that are underdogs, you kind of watch something like a Rocky and be like, no, 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 we still have a chance. As long as you believe, you always have a chance. But if we're now comparing Hurricane and Raging Bull, I would say Raging Bull is overall a better film. You see, Hurricane has an amazing performance. It's a great story because it's based on a real story. Well, both are based on real people. But I think Hurricane, the real lightning rod of Hurricane, is Denzel Washington, and that is arguably one of his best performances ever. Raging Bull, De Niro is amazing. Scorsese is amazing. Joe Pesci is amazing. Everything about that film is amazing. The story is amazing. The script is amazing. So that's, as a whole, is just superb. That as a whole is just so superb. So, but I just think, look, it is the cheesy answer because there've been loads of boxing films. Because I think there's just something about boxing that feels very relatable. Just with the whole psychology with boxing and stuff, man. So, but if I had to choose, man, sorry, my nose. If I had to choose Rocky, this is Rocky. Like, I mean, down. It's an iconic film. But even if we talk about how iconic it is, the running, the music, just as a film and as a script, which is why this is maybe a discussion for another time, that whatever happened to Stallone and why didn't he have a much better career, specifically as an actor and as just like a filmmaker with regards to writing and so forth. Because you look at Rocky, and that's just a really good film, a really good film, and very well acted. Very well acted. So guys, man, thank you. And remember to subscribe. Remember to like the video as well. And hopefully, I'll try and fit in a few more of these live movie streams as much as I can. So especially when football is coming back, I'll just try and see what I can just squeeze it in whenever there's like a free time, because it's always good to love films, watch movies. I'll probably even watch a film tonight as well. So stay good, stay cool, stay sexy, stay lovely, and I'll see you guys on the other one, man. Peace out, stay true, and I'm out.